I'm not predicting at this point that I would recommend that those forces in Mosul and along the border would need to be accompanied by U.S. forces, but we're certainly considering it. We could take ownership of it entirely and then gradually over time transition it back to Iraqi security forces, Peshmerga tribes, Sunni opposition.
Well, that's a bit of big news coming out from this week's hearing. General Martin Dempsey saying that the Obama administration may revise its strategy against ISIS by sending in ground troops to Iraq. General Dempsey in Iraq today talking with Iraqi political and security officials on the next phase of the campaign. Now, this is a surprise, unannounced trip to this country since U.S. military advisors were sent in by President Obama. It's another sign that the president may be getting closer to recommitting to a war that he promised to end. Joining us now, former CIA Director James Woolsey is here with his thoughts on what's going on right now. Welcome, sir. Always great to have you here.
Good to be with you.
Let's talk for a moment about this surprise trip that is taking place in Iraq right now with the Joint Chiefs Chairman. They're assessing the situation. Do you think it's just a matter of time before we now actually see the ground troops there?
Well, I hope so. I mean, General Dempsey is walking back some of President Obama's bigger mistakes, and one of his biggest was to have been in a good position at the end of the surge when he took over. People like General Keane and others that had produced the surge left us in a pretty good situation 6 years ago or so in Iraq. And then to announce that you're not going to keep a force there and to manage the status of forces agreement negotiations in such a way that it's almost impossible to keep a force there, and to announce to the enemy, among other people, that you're leaving and not coming back, there probably isn't a much worse way to fight a war than that, and they're now having to correct it, and good, because we are going to have to probably have at least 15,000 or so people there, not the 3,000 or 4,000 that they're pointed toward now, if we're going to help them, the Iraqis, re-establish the situation and also deal with ISIS, which is a very, very difficult situation.
All right, if we send in the ground forces there to help shore up the Iraqi forces on the ground, what is winning the war supposed to look like?
Well, I think it would look like the situation at the end of the surge. It wouldn't be perfect, and we probably would not have had our own major ground forces, but we would have had a number of American military officers out on patrol, let's say, and in the tactical headquarters with the Iraqi government. We'd have supplied them with the right kind of weapons, close air support, heavy weapons of the sort that they've been requesting for some time, particularly the Kurds have been requesting, and we have not been supplying. We do what was militarily effective, short of actually deploying large numbers of forces on the ground. And we've fiddled around for several years now, and it's produced really a very difficult situation where we've got to reclaim a lot of things that we once were pretty well situated on.
And adding to these difficulties is the news that other groups like al-Nusra are teaming up with ISIS.
Yes.
The reports coming out that they are joining forces to fight the West and the American troops. So tell us what your thoughts are about that and what the implications are for this.
These various jihadi groups are going to come and go with one another, but as a general proposition, I'd say Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, and the others are plain terrorists. They want to kill a lot of us, and they think they will go to heaven if they do that, and we'll go to hell, and they're doing that. The really interesting one is the Islamic State. Because what I think they are trying to do is reestablish the caliphate that was first established under Muhammad. And that would be a region of total radical Islamic rule in which other people of other faiths are killed or converted. And they are working their way kind of like an oil slick to take over first Syria and then Iraq and then to different parts of the Middle East, reaching down even into the Sinai Desert and so forth. And they're doing that in such a way as to expand the rule of the caliphate. They're building a little empire that'll get to be a bigger empire over time, and in that area where they control, they're looking to have modern weapons, aircraft, etc., and to have the total totalitarian rule of law that they support. And that's, in many ways, fundamentally, I think, more dangerous in a way, even than al-Nusra and al-Qaeda and the others.
I have just a few seconds left, but let me ask you, the deadline's coming up November 24th for the deal that is supposed to be struck with Iran. And, you know, the fact is, many people are saying, why have a deal at all? Because it doesn't appear at this point that Iran is honoring its commitments so far in terms of the inspections and turning over the information about its nuclear ambitions.
We've already caved on a year ago anyway, on the major issue, which was they got to continue uranium enrichment. Once they're doing that, they're very close to a bomb, and the difference between being 4 months away and 8 months away and so forth doesn't really make that much difference.
Well,
We've already caved on that.
Are you hearing that that deadline is just going to come and go, and that it'll just be something that will continue to be discussed, or do you actually see a deal coming through?
Whatever happens that keeps us from having a bad deal, and I think the deal that they're pointing toward is a bad deal because it lets the Iranians continue uranium enrichment. Whatever keeps us from having a bad deal, basically, I would be in favor of. Stalling is better than a bad deal.
All right. James Woolsey, thank you so much for joining us. It's always great to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Appreciate it.